Ready to upgrade your communication skills for 2025? It's already given that if you're not good with communicating, or if your communication skill is poor, there is no way you will be able to sell yourself, sell your product, or sell your business. So in today's video, I would like to continue the trend for the whole month of October, November, and December, where I would like to share with you topics that will be useful for you as you prepare for 2025. So today's topic will be talking about tips to boost your communication skills. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get into it. Number one, show engagement. Very important to understand that in order for you to be able to sell a product or a service or yourself, you need to be able to communicate and you need to show your engagement, or you're engaged to your client. So this topic as well would be within the realm of different salespeople. We have salespeople doing face-to-face selling, we have telesales, we have door-to-door sellers also, online selling. Let's face it, if you are in sales, any of these videos that I've been producing in terms of your tips, in terms of your techniques, it's all coming down to one single fact. It's all connected to one another. So, number one tip again, show engagement. In order for you to communicate or to sell, you don't just want to focus on selling. You need to show that you're engaged. And how do you show that? Body language, verbal. You basically, if you're face-to-face, your client need to see that you're engaged, that you're showing gestures that agrees or acknowledges what he or she is saying. And if you're doing telesales, naturally you have to speak or you have to say something or make a small gesture on the phone. Number two, adapt your style to your audience. Now, communication skills not only focus on being able to speak, but at the same time, you also want to be able to achieve your skill on adaptation. You want to be able to adjust and adapt to who you are actually speaking to. Let's say, for example, I'm doing face-to-face selling. If I'm face-to-face selling with, let's just say, a certain age group, or let's say a certain profession, and if I'm doing telesales to a certain demographic, you also want to adapt to that particular client in order for you to be able to communicate well. It's the same thing as teachers, right? Like kindergarten teachers, for example. When they teachers, for example, they really adjust as well to how they communicate to the children, because they know that in order for them to connect effectively to the students, or let's say primary 1, primary 2, or kindergarten, they need to communicate to them in the level where they will connect, they will be understood, and things will work out just as how they actually aimed it to be. Okay, so just remember tip number 2, adjust to your particular audience. Doesn't matter if you're face-to-face selling, you're doing telemarketing, be mindful of this tip before you even sell and before you even promote your package. So I've mentioned at the beginning of this video, business owners, because I've noticed in my analytics report on YouTube, I can see the viewers ranges from salespeople. At the same time, we do have small business owners. So I just want to include them as well, because I agree that because sales is a universal or is a big umbrella of different types of businesses using sales as a method of, or as a channel to promote, to sell. Very important as well to include them. So that's why I want to talk about communication skills as well related to small business owners, because this is also going to be useful for you guys. All right, so adapt your style to your audience. How do you do that? Of course, your tone and your language. let me give you a quick example. Here in Singapore, I've been living here for 15 years, 16 years now. And here in Singapore, when I was doing sales, I have managed, after living here long enough, I have managed to adapt to the tone of speaking and the language I should be using if I am dealing with a Singaporean client. Generally, I deal with, or I handle or assist or deal with Singaporean clients. So the way I talk right now is different than when I'm speaking to a Singaporean client, because I automatically switch to what they call the Singlish. And of course, my tone changes, my pace of speaking changes, and the language that I use. I still speak English to them, but at the same time, you adapt to the way of life and the way we speak here in Singapore. So that is one effective way. I can guarantee that this second tip is very effective. So we have viewers as well from different countries, different cities. Please go check out your environment. Be mindful. Are you actually adapting to the environment you're doing your business and your sales? And of course, at the end of the day, this is the best way to communicate, and communication is the key to connecting. All right, so number 3, ask the 4 W's and the 1 H. Let me take this out. So what is the 4 W's and 1 H? Obviously, it's the 4 W's is the what, where, when, why. And then the H is how. So why do you need to get into a practice of asking this type of questions or starting your questions with 4 W's or H? The reason for that is you actually want to make sure that the conversation is flowing, and you don't want to interrupt the momentum of a very what word am I looking for? A very engaged discussion or presentation or business meeting. Again, communication skills is not only for you selling, you promoting a package. It's also applicable if you're doing this for business, obviously, right? So remember to ask those questions that starts with, okay, it's very engaging. Oh, when did you do that? Or how was the experience? Or which place did you actually enjoy that privilege? What was the experience like? It creates conversation. It prolongs the exchange of very meaningful conversation or discussion, whether it's leading to a sale, it's leading to more businesses that you are actually integrating together with the business that you have already. So this is actually another very important tip, because remember what I said in many of my videos, questions are answers. So please be mindful of the questions you ask, and make sure the questions you ask will give you the answer that you're looking for. So in relation to this, there's also questions of yes or no, or questions that are answerable by a yes or a no. When is the time to ask that? There is always a time for asking this type of questions as well. For example, at the end of your meeting, at the end of your presentation, this is the part where you can say, do you have any more questions? What you're looking for there is, no, I'm good. Either way, if he or she would say yes, then that means that discussion or the conversation is not finished yet, and then you can carry on with answering the questions that is related to what you're trying to achieve on that meeting. Number 4, avoid complicated terms. So again, this is very, very useful tip. A lot of times as salespeople, whether you're selling a product, you're selling your business, you actually need to remember that you want to avoid complicated terms when you're speaking to a client or a customer or a prospect. The reason for that is the more complicated the terms that you use, the more you don't achieve the end goal of your meeting. So if there are terms that you find complicated in your program, in your package, before you go to the meeting, please do a little research and find out, how can I simplify this complicated terminology in my package? Okay, so don't forget that tip. It's a very, very important tip to follow through, especially if you're selling a package or a product that has a lot of complicated terminologies. Try to find a way to simplify that, and just to make sure that you're able to connect with your client by using understandable terminologies. That's the way you build good communication skill. Next one, guys. PTR. Pause, think, and respond. When do you use the PTR approach? So when your client, in the middle of your conversation, the client would ask you a question, it's very important to put this at the back of your mind as a reminder to not just jump right in and answer the questions like so quickly and so easy. Of course, if you know the answer very well and you're so confident, of course you deliver the answer. But then again, also, just because having a good communication skills means there are times when you need to pause, think before you respond. It's applicable to me as well. When I'm filming videos, I gotta remind myself, no one is chasing me. I shouldn't be talking so fast. I should be relaying or conveying the content I want to share with you guys in a clear manner, and at the same time, I need to remember to pause, think, and respond. So when I'm doing my video, it's another example of practicing my communication skills. Pause, think, and respond. I gotta remember that. All right, so next one, guys. Positive tone or positive words. Very important for communication skills to be on tip-top shape in 2025 is for you to start with start with you on a positive note. So this would allow you to build a very positive discussion and a positive meeting and conversation with your client. So a good communication skill you have to remind yourself of is, I should actually be mindful about the tone and the words that I use when I'm communicating, whether it's selling or just a business meeting or any form of communication. Next one, guys. Tip number 8. Prepare for tough conversation. Prepare for tough conversation. What does that mean? So in every meeting, in every conversation, in every discussion, there will be unforeseeable, tough questions or complaints or negative feedback from your client to yourself. Again, whether you're selling or you're running your own small business. So when you prepare for tough conversation, it comes down to really being prepared with what you're supposed to know before the meeting. So you need to be organized, you need to be prepared with your presentation tools, with your product knowledge, with some technical information in case your meeting is about escalation of some issues and you have to handle that first before you can actually insert your opportunity to sell. So again, you know better than myself what you're exactly doing for a living. That's why you're watching this video, and that's why you find yourself related to this topic. So imagine that scenario you're at right now, and then just think about this tip number 8, which is saying prepare for tough conversation. Prepare your materials. It's basically like going for a job interview. You want to be prepared with everything. A matter of fact, I just want to touch on that. I have a video a couple of weeks ago. It's also related to communication skills, but how you can actually use your sales skills when you are applying for a job. And I would like to say that this tip is also somehow connected to that, because at the end of the day, when you're preparing for a tough meeting or a tough conversation, you need to make sure that you're either rehearsed, meaning you've rehearsed on what could be the possible questions that would be challenging for you, that you've already prepared what you have to say. Not literally practice word per word or really rehearse the whole conversation, because that's really impossible to do, but prepare and rehearse yourself on what's to come. And it always helps, and that's why salespeople, I recommend all the time. It doesn't matter what level you are. If you're beginner, you're advanced, you need to constantly do your role play with your manager to make sure that you are in the right place or in the right shape as you continue to meet clients and promote yourself and promote your product. All right, so tip number 9. Use positive reinforcement. So what is that? These are words that you say, oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, nice. Oh, thank you. This sounds very simple and basic for us, but have you actually guys experienced having a meeting with someone, whether it's an interview, whether it's in a setting of selling, whether you're the customer or you are seeing a customer service representative because you have issues with the product that you purchase? Have you ever experienced not getting any positive reinforcement from the salesperson? I have, and it gives me a very negative experience. So be mindful of these little gestures. Of course, you need to be authentic. You need to be, you want to come across sincere. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so remember that just these little words, these little gestures, this little positive reinforcement, they make a big difference to your client. Okay, so now we go to number 10. Tip number 10. Seek out trainings and workshops. In order for all of us to improve our communication skill, it requires practice, it requires practical experience, but also it requires training. I feel that myself, at my age now, where I'm at in life, I don't think I will be able to communicate comfortably and be able to express myself without all the practices I've done in many years, or perhaps decades. Without those practices, I won't be able to do what I do as a salesperson. Present to the customer, remember everything I need to in the order what I'm supposed to, convey a very good communication skills, right? So what I'm trying to say is I can relate on this tip number 10 so well, because it's basically reminding me to still continue to seek out trainings, which I'm personally doing myself as well, in order for me to come up with more ideas, to educate myself, and to know exactly the areas I need to improve. So as a salesperson or as business owner, if you're watching this channel, you're already doing a great job, because you could also be watching something for laugh or something silly online, which I used to do, but I stopped doing that since I became a content creator, because I just have no time and energy to watch those things, and I was more focused on really watching as many videos to educate myself and to seek training and online training and workshops for myself to develop the chosen craft that I have right now, which is providing content on YouTube. Okay, so again, seek out trainings. What training should you look for your communication skill? My advice would be negotiation, because you're in sales. Very important to also look into that. Seek out trainings on conflict resolution. This is also a very good topic to explore. And of course, your persuasion communication. So those 3 areas I highly recommend for salespeople, whether you're face-to-face, whether you're telemarketing, you're door-to-door, or your own business owner. These 3 areas should be the key areas you should look into to improve your communication skills. And you know what? I've learned that these 3 areas are related as well to what we used to do in telesales, in face-to-face selling. I've done myself for decades. I've trained people how to do it. I would like to create this video separately for you guys and for myself as well, to further refresh myself on the courses that I should review before I click record. Okay, so that's a promise. I'm going to do that video this week. All right, so number 11 tip, PRA, practice, reflect, and adjust. So for this particular point, right, what you need to remember is, in order for you to have a good communication skill and to improve it for 2025, you want to make sure that you actually focus on self-improvement. Self-improvement. Again, no one can come here and say, hey, I've been in sales for 30 years. I know I don't have anything to learn. I know everything. I've never met a single salesperson in that level of seniority who comes to me and say, I don't need to learn anything. In fact, all the more they're hungry to learn new tricks and tips, because they're aware that times are changing, they need to adapt to change, and they need to obviously catch up with the trend and the new generation, the competitors, the competition, and stuff like that. Okay, so practice, reflect, and adjust. Self-improvement. Tip number 12, empathy and validation. So in order for you or for us to have very good communication skill, very important for us to practice empathy and just set aside the business aspect of what we do as salespeople to also look into the emotional side of it, where we also would like to know, okay, I want the client to know that I have empathy towards him for his condition or for his situation. And at the same time, it would not also hurt if you actually show some emotions when you are selling. It makes you more relatable. It makes you more sincere, and customers would like to speak to us when we are also like them, like in other words, learn to remove the wall between you and your client. That's the way to connect, that's the way to influence, and that's the way to stand out. So I hope that today's video was useful for you in order for you to be driven to improve your communication skills as we're all gearing up for Q1 or 2025. And so I'll see you on the next training session. Please don't forget to subscribe and to like. If this video is useful for you, if this video could benefit you, I have about 70 videos on the playlist. I'm really so happy about that. That was a good warm-up. And yes, we are just warming up. There's still a lot of videos coming up, a lot of really strong videos coming up for you. Thanks for supporting the channel. Bye for now. See you on the next training session.